Well, you join us as we reside in our respective sweaty pits, studying the map and trying to work out the next part of the route. And we've had quite an interesting debate about this. I've just been pointing out to Sir M that in fact we are now down here at Portumna. We've got to get over to Dublin, and I've worked it out. It's about 130 miles to go. Now, we've currently got, I think it's something like 92.5 pounds of fish in our keep net, which will get us 92.5 miles, so it's not even enough to get us to Dublin. And I keep rambling on about the fact that we need some fish in our keep net when we get the other side, and I think we do. So we've got a lot of work to do yet, son.
What I can't get is, why don't we go straight from Portumna to Dublin? There's got to be one or two places we can stop.
Well, I'm glad you raised that, Sir M. And I think the viewers will go along with me here. You can't come to Ireland, can you, and not fish Corrib and the Shannon and Derg. And may I also point out to you, Sir M, that Loch Sheelan and Loch Rama, two of the waters that you wanted to fish. So
Sounds like a bit of self-indulgence, this does.
No, it isn't. If you actually look at the map, to be fair, mate, Dublin's up here, Portumna's down here. You've got to do a bit of that. And it makes getting into Dublin easier. So it is what it is, mate, really. Anyway, what we're going to do today is we're going to go up to Banagher, which is on the Shannon. We're going to go to the tackle shop because we need a bit of advice about where we can fish. I'm probably going to try and find some float fishing for roach and hybrids and that sort of thing on a stick float or a waggler. And Sir M will be trying to catch the first pike of the series, so good luck to him on that one. And without further ado, Sir M, I think we should finish our toast and drink our tea and get on the road.
Yep.
This is Portumna. That's the main town bridge behind us.
We haven't put much in the keep net, but we're not despondent.
I think we've probably wasted a day today. We've moved downstream. That's the start. Classic roach bream hybrid. Every fisherman's nightmare. Ah, he's got me.
Swim full of little eels. I've never heard such nonsense in all my life.
It's Eduardo eel. That's £half a pound.
You're a master of handling eels.
Put the slime there. Well, here we are. We're on our way to the tackle shop now, and whenever you find a good tackle shop in Ireland, it's worth its weight in gold. We're hoping this one will be. We need some bait. We also need information because our knowledge of this area is a little bit sketchy, so we're hoping the guy that runs the shop can tell us a little bit about the fishing here.
You can even buy a bag of frogs. I was going to buy some for the wife.
In Ireland, thinking of you.
He ain't right.
I think a bit of the old ordinary brown crumb will come in handy, Mick. Is the world swimming?
This could be useful. Well, we're going pike fishing a bit later, and we're probably going to be doing a bit of trolling, and that's a great trolling lure.
I've got all the ground bait anyway, Mick. I've got...
Is that enough?
Yeah.
Like your flyers. I found the perfect float for me. Look, this. I am a darling.
Will you let me get on with the shopping and go away? Well, I've got a great collection of flies here, all different ones for different types of fishing that we may find ahead. A couple of salmon flies, some dry flies and a couple of wet flies. But, you know, the great thing about a tackle shop like this is it looks seemingly innocent from the outside, but when you actually get inside, there's all kinds of things hidden away, and it's the kind of stuff, you find little gems that you wouldn't normally get in English tackle shops. I love coming to places like this.
Well, these will be useful for when we go pike fishing.
Very good boat. Right, the Duke, let's go.
Well, it was an interesting shop, that, wasn't it?
The guy who runs it's really knowledgeable about the fishing in the area.
Yeah. I'll tell you what was interesting. He knew every swim.
Well, he's onto some good stuff, isn't he? Because we've got a piece of the Shannon to try.
Yep.
An interesting new technique. And then later on we can try some mayfly fishing as well.
Yeah.
So a very good call, that's Sir M, I think.
Certainly. And we're well stocked up now, so let's get on with some fishing, eh? It's been hard to find, isn't it?
Yeah, very difficult to find. It's the middle of nowhere. Very deep there, it's 20 or 30 foot. Well, here we are. This is the Shebeen stretch of the River Shannon. It's a very wide, deep piece of river here. It's around about 30 feet deep, and the reason I know that is I'm using a big sliding float, so I've had to plumb the depth pretty precisely. Actually, this is a really interesting method, and I'm looking forward to seeing whether I can actually catch some fish using it. It's very unusual, highly specialised technique, but absolutely perfect for this kind of water here, where you've got this quite powerful flow, enormous depth, And you'd think that ordinarily float fishing would be impossible here, but it's not. I think the only question as to whether myself and Mick catch is whether we're actually on fish. And on such a great big stretch of river, that's always difficult to figure out, but we're going to give it our best shot anyway.
Well, the Shebeen fishery is really noted for pike, but the trouble is it's a huge piece of water, it's a massive river, 30 feet deep. The pike could be anywhere. I just don't know whether this is a good swim or not. What I'm hoping is that Matt will draw some roach into his swim, and that, in turn, should draw some pike. I've got a couple of dead baits out, one for me and one for Matt. I'm throwing a lure around. It's a matter of doing the best we can and seeing what happens.
Well, look at this. Here's my first fish. I'm not even going to bother putting that one in the keep net because that's not miles, that's not even half miles, that's a few metres, that one. But anyway, it just goes to show how sensitive a really heavy float rig can be. Now, what I'm fishing with today is a really interesting and quite exciting method, to be honest. It's the first time I've tried this. It's an alternative to fishing the feeder, and it enables you to fish with a float, just creeping the bait along, giving it a really nice presentation. Now, the key to it is this thing here. It's what's called a sliding float. It runs up and down on the line. It's a very big, bulky float. The only modification I've made to it is on the tip here, I've coloured this in 2 bands of black because I'm fishing against shiny water. That's a bulk Olivet weighing 12 grams, and then we've got a string of shot above it. Just below the Olivet, there's a swivel to stop line twist, and then 2 dropper shots on the hook link with a size 18 hook. And the idea is that the weight will trundle along just above the bottom and the hook will actually be dragging along on the bottom. Now, you might be wondering, if the float's running on the line, how does it come to depth? Well, the answer is simple. This is what's called a sliding stop knot. When I cast out, the leads plummet down through the water, the float runs up the line, and it stops when it hits this stop knot. And by experimentation at the start of the session, I've established that I'm fishing in round about to 28, 29 feet of water. So I've got the stop knot set at that depth, and it's very interesting to see actually what happens. I'm going to cast it out with an underarm lob and then just feather the line to straighten out the tackle. There's the float. I'm paying out line with my hand. Now watch it sit down. Bang, there it is. And now you can see just the tip of the float above the water. And whether I catch anything or not, I can tell you this is a fantastic method. It's a little bit technical, but I really, really hope it works. If it doesn't, it's nothing to do with the technique. It's just that I haven't found the fish.
Well, we've moved upstream. We couldn't get on with that last swim. Well, basically, we couldn't catch any fish. Anyway, let's have a look at the statistics now. Well, we've travelled 117 miles. We've still got 83.5 pounds in the keep net, so that makes our tally, our grand total, a catch of 200.5 pounds for the trip so far.
Well, I've switched over to the feeder because I can't get a bite on the float. Just had my first bite on about the 4th cast, and I've got a horrible feeling that this is a little eel. Oh dear, I suppose it's a ½ pound we should be grateful for. Now, there is an old Indian rope trick with eels, and that is that if you lie them on their back, they're supposed to go calm. No one really knows why this happens, but it's something to do with the eel's nervous system and the electromagnetic impulses from the earth. It's definitely had a calming effect on him. Look, at least it's enabled me to unhook him without too much of a mess. Anguilla anguilla, the common eel.
Today's been absolutely disastrous. I've had a few bits and pieces fishing down the margin trying to get some bait, and I don't think we put together £1.5 pounds between us today. We really are going backwards, I think.
Mick's been talking about the problems we've had today, and he's absolutely right. It's been a major disappointment. When we planned this rod race, the Shannon system was very much the linchpin of the whole thing, because this was the area that we were more or less guaranteed to catch fish. Well, at the moment, I think the wheels come off our game plan.
Oh, there's a bite. Just missed one. No.
Yes, eel on my feeder. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water.
We've really got to get our act together now.
We've got to find some fish. We're living off our fat reserves at the moment, and I was hoping we wouldn't have to do that. Well, we're right on the last trickle of light now, and because we're so desperate to catch fish, we've stayed on. I've got a fish here. It's not an eel, thank the Lord. It looks like a small bream, and it is. It's actually a Shannon bream. Not like one of the golden bream of yesteryear, but it's a Shannon bream. It's about £1 pound in weight, and it's worth that weight in gold. Well, that means with a few bits we've scraped together and a couple of eels, we've had 2.5 pounds of fish today, folks. Yippee! But it's better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. Just about.